I'm Darren Dozell. This is my dynamic disc What's in the Bag. Before I start, I made a modification here with some PVC tube for the cart because their umbrella thing is kind of crappy. But anyway, it allows the umbrella to, you can actually stand underneath it. It does come apart pretty easily, and you can take one section out, just put the umbrella down so it's low over the bag. But as it is right now, it's providing me shade on this 80-degree day in New Jersey. Anyway, start with my putter bag, I guess. Got a Judge putter. Kind of learning these. It's an award. Both of them are pretty beat up, pretty soft. Judge is the most similar thing to JK AVR. I was using pretty much all Innova before, and this seems to work for me pretty well. So that's what I'm doing. Got a couple backups in here, another Judge, and another Deputy, well, a Deputy, which is always a little bit different. Depends on the what it is I'm doing, I guess. I use a Optoline call drop for a really overstable putter. I got this from a buddy of mine. It's a GBO disc, and fantastic. I nailed some 70 footers with this flick button. Definitely overstable. I know what it's going to do. Works really well. I guess we'll go mid-range to driver. Most overstable mid-range that I have in my bag is an Anvil West Side discs. It's fairly new. The more beat up it gets, the straighter it gets, but it's still extremely overstable, and it's very predictable. For me, I can get a 250 control shot out of this, and I know it's going to go left even on a windy day. So I like that. Second disc is there's disc off. This is an Anchor. It's a 178 Anchor, white. Another mid-range, a little bit straighter, a little less overstable, but again, I know what it's going to do. It's pretty self-explanatory. Next disc is an EMAC Truth, a lot straighter, still comes back to the left, but this has a tendency to flip in really windy days. But it still does come back for me most of the time, 90% of the time. Next disc is a Claymore. Just extremely straight. It pretty much holds whatever line, whether it's Anheuser, Heiser, it holds a line, and it works very, very well for me. Claymore was the first trilogy disc that I ever threw, and I fell in love with it and put it in my bag right away. Before I was throwing a Mako, and very similar, but actually I think it's better than a Mako, but that's just me. Understable, Warrant. It's my next disc in the bag. It's a little more flippy than the Claymore. It holds, it's got a little more glide on the line than my Claymore does, but it's next. Kind of flying through these a little bit. Next disc in my bag is a Pine. Again, very reliable, very, very straight. Similar to the Truth, but it finishes a little straighter, I think. At least the way I throw it, it does. Again, these discs fly for me how they fly. I don't know how they fly for everybody else or how they're supposed to fly, but some are really beat up, some are not. And it's just how it is. So next disc in my bag, actually I have two Witnesses. The pink one is a 175, extremely flippy, in a lucid plastic. The white one is a 173. But for some reason, even though it's heavier, it's maybe because it's not as beat, it's not as flippy. But this is my roller Anheuser no fade out shot, and this is Anheuser with a little bit of straight finish. Basically, there's a difference between the two. Okay. Next disc is a Freedom. I used to keep two of these in my bag. I don't anymore, but understable. I can get some good distance out of this. If my arm's starting to hurt throughout the day, I can start throwing this for distance. I usually crank about 320 out of it. It's just a good understable distance driver. I use it more for fairway stuff or stuff since I'm a righty and I don't really have a good flick. I use it for left to right shots, you know, a little bit of comeback. Kind of more stable stuff, I go to a Cutlass. I know what this disc is going to do. It's going to go straight, it's going to finish. It's good in the wind. This is probably one of my most favorite drivers from Trilogy, from Lat 64 Cutlass. It's a go-to. It's becoming a go-to anyway. Next one, a little out of order, is a Opto Bolt. I had another one I lost. I'm kind of learning this one over, but Bolt has always been a go-to distance driver for me. I can throw about 80% power, 100% snap, and get about 350 out of this disc. But on windy days, it flips like a bastard. So anyway, next fairway driver is an Escape. Just a straight disc. It's similar to Innova Eagle was for me. Just straight as an arrow. A little bit of finish. Fade at the end. It's fade 2. I think it's more like a fade 1.5. But like I said, I didn't rate these. Next disc is a Flow. Again, one of my first trilogy discs. Absolutely love it. Great disc. Know it's going to come back. Good control. They call it an overstable fairway driver. I think it's more of a fairway driver, not a long range driver, but to each his own. Next disc is a Trespass. I have another Trespass on my bag, which I'll get to in a second. This is the Lucid Clear Rainbow Stamp. Got this from a friend of mine. He turned me on to it. He's like, you know, you need this in your bag. I threw it and I fell in love with it. I can easily get 400 out of this disc, and it just straight as an arrow, and it does come back. So. Next 4 are pretty much overstables. Sheriff. Don't throw it as much, but I have it in the bag. Certain instances that I need, you know, something overstable to stable. It's got a little bit of flip in the flight, but it does come back for me. It's a good disc. Put it in my bag. Next one is Enforcer. This is fairly new. It's 171. Kind of light, but most Enforcers are meat hooks till they get beat up and then they go straight. And then for some reason, the heavier ones tend to flip on me a little bit more. Which the guy who got me into Trilogy has the same deal. But again, overstable, good for windy days, good if I have a strong headwind. It's one of my go-tos. Defender, Fusion, one of the original Pretty Plastics. It's overstable, and it comes back. I can use this for spike hyzers, and I know it's going to go. I mean, it always cuts in hard, and just a reliable, overstable approach disc is more or less what I use it for. Last one in this section is another Enforcer. This thing is, even though it's beat, this was one of the, I don't know, this run of plastic has been really durable, and there's been no change in the flight. It's extremely overstable. When I don't put a lot of power on, obviously, and it does the same thing every time I throw it. It's very, very consistent, and that's why it's in my bag. Overstable, long-range driver. Going to my side bag here, my side pouch, Culverin, my go-to when it comes to straight, finish left driver. They call it an overstable control driver. I like this thing for long distance. I can crank the crap out of this thing and it goes forever. And it glides really, really well. This is one of my favorites. And this is a Moonshine Glow. Well, Moonshine is glow, but you know what I mean. My other Trespass I was talking about before flies very similar, but it finishes a little harder at the end, maybe due to the plastic, the Fusion plastic. Triple X, just recently added to my bag, so I wanted something really stupid overstable that was kind of similar to a brand new stiletto, which I kept in my bag and I lost on a course. And you know, even though you put your name and number on it, people will call you. So somebody didn't find it, or they kept it, whatever. Easy come, easy go. My other and last, pretty much my last reliable overstable driver is the Warhorse. Again, this is a first run, fairly recent, VIP Westside disc. I love this thing. It just really strong headwind days. This thing is just reliable. Other days where I need to do a low skip, the way this edge and the profile is designed, this thing skips a mile. I love this disc. It's great. The other two I just added recently into my bag is the Hex Michelin. I've been doing really well with this recently. I'm pushing 400 feet with this disc, and then I have the other one I can't really pronounce, which is called the Rakuten. But I have, these are kind of polar opposites of each other. This one's very flippy, this one's very overstable. But I really like these discs. I don't know why they don't make more of them. Maybe they're hard to produce, or just it's hard to make the little Nike symbols. As a ball golfer, I can see where this would cause more wind resistance over the top, which meaning more lift and more flight. Also with a little bit of flight knowledge. I don't know, they just do really well for me. But anyway, other side, I got two discs. I got a Havoc. If anybody's missing one, there was no name or anything on it, but I found it in the woods. Seems to be pretty flippy. I don't really throw it. And last but not least, I got a 100% beef Justice. This thing is a tank. It's overstable, glides pretty well. I was looking for something that was comparable to my Gremlin. It's probably not this, but I definitely know even if I grip lock this and throw it hard to the right, it's gonna come back left and end up probably where I wanted it to. Great disc. Not big on the color, but it's pretty cool. And being that I have a farm background, I like the beef stamp. So, other than that, now quick pan up to my little umbrella holder, and this is a dynamic bag cart. So anyway, again, my name's Darren Dozell, and that's my video. Sorry it's so long. See you on the course.